chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You need to hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
No, I'm not muted. Can you just go back out and come back in? Everything is fine on my side based on the audio. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing. Yep, my mic is fine. So just reset, go out and come back in for me, please, Connie. I'm seeing where, yeah, everything is showing fine on my side, so I'm not so sure. No. I'm not so sure what happened there. So everything is good on my side, but it's, please, if you're not hearing me, just let me know. Connie, if it's just you, just go out and come back in for me, please. Yeah. Welcome, one and all, as I get ready to share the screen here and share all the links. It's good to be back with you. I know we shared a lot yesterday, and I'm good on Facebook, so I'm seeing myself. Yeah, so I'm not so sure what's going on with you, Connie Bonnie. Hello.
Well, good evening, lady.
Good evening.
Go on there, and I'll tell you when you're hearing you.
Okay, I'm there. And everything is on my side is showing fine. So I'm asking you to go.
Oh, you're in now. You're in now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my love. Appreciate it. Oh, I love my viewers and my followers and my listeners. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, they're the links that's up in the Facebook. I know that a lot of you have been saying, Sabrina, we can't find you. And I'm just letting you know that there's things, algorithms, whatever it is going on between YouTube, Facebook, and even Instagram. Sometimes we come up as a video. Sometimes we come, if you look on the top of your screen, if you're using a cell phone, you look for us under Reels, be it you're on the CMR TV platform, Facebook page, or you're streaming live directly from the Sabrina Turner Community Speaks. Not all the time you will see me in my videos. Sometimes it'll come up. These shows will come up in the Reels. So it's weird. We have no control over where they will actually be streaming us from. So my apologies there. And if I continue to get these reports, then I'll make sure that I share the live feeds after to say, hey, in case you missed us or having trouble finding us, finding today's episode, here's the link. That's why it's good for you to follow, like, share, or even subscribe based on what platform you're on, because that way we automatically come up. Even if you like us on Facebook or you follow my page on YouTube, whatever, unless you comment, I don't see you. So you are liking, following, subscribing, hitting the bell, the little bell if you're on Facebook, so that you get notifications. You can either get the notifications on the CMR platform, or you can get notifications from the Sabrina Speaks, Sabrina Turner Community Facebook page, so that once I'm live, be it a reel or on video, you will be alerted. So that makes the whole process easier. And straight up, I'm not monetizing this. But if you want to not have any issues finding me, then it's in your best interest because we come up all the time that you like and follow so that you don't miss an episode. So it's not a pitch. It's not that I get money from this. Once you follow me on these social media platforms, I am not monetizing the platforms. It's just making it sure or easy for you to find me. Yeah, but welcome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks. And it's good to be back with you this afternoon. Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. Sometimes, as well as I go into and set the stage for what we're going to be discussing today, sometimes you know that this whole platform now, we will have other segments coming on that's broadcasting on the CMR page. Should there be any evening that we want to go really in overtime, I can only stream on the Sabrina Turner Community Activist page because, of course, the CMR page then will be taken up by other content. If you are following Sabrina Turner Community Activist, and let's say my shows go on because the conversation, the feedback is that good, or the topic demands us to go an hour longer or half hour longer, guess what? You will not be interrupted. This is why you'll see me having a hard stop at 7 p.m. because I could be actually interrupting other content that's streaming on the CMR platform. So once you also like and follow the Sabrina Turner community page, if I even want to continue with a conversation, I will politely remove myself from the CMR platforms, and then I will continue independently on the Sabrina Turner Community Activist. So that's why it's good that you like all of the pages, so that if any time that happens, then look here, we just continue doing business. But yes, for all of you, my name is Sabrina, and it's good to be back with you. I know I see some new followers. I see some new subscribers yesterday as well. So thank you for coming back, and thank you for joining me here this evening as we continue with our discussions. And you're going to weigh in because it's only about 15 or 20 minutes left of where we left off yesterday, of me delivering unbiased, just facts of what that first quarter of 2026 core government unaudited financial statement means, what it signifies. Yes. Yeah, we're going to finish that up today. And then, of course, this is your time to give us feedback, because I know there was a lot to digest yesterday with those numbers. But I just want to repeat, I'm not just repeating these numbers. We're talking about those numbers and what they mean to every Caymanian, every resident, every citizen. And that Q1 report shows, yes, for the first quarter, strong surplus and definitely high cash reserves. But behind those headlines, we also have the harsh realities that there is rising healthcare and cost growing. And then we see where the growing pension obligations has been highlighted as well, and an aging population. Number of fronts, statistical data proves that we have an aging population. And of course, questions about current models, whether or not the current models that we have situated is sustainable. So we will break it down this evening here in plain language, but I want you to stick with me. And please remember that the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and our participants, is intended solely for general, informational, and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all of our affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. Yes, feel free to join me live. You can call in 936-8255 is the number to be a part of the discussions here. And we love to hear and get your feedback, of course. So we appreciate you. And also that number, you're allowed to WhatsApp me and I keep you anonymous. Of course, I respect that with your feedback, of course. So all I ask, keep on topic as much as you can, please, and be respectful. because everyone is entitled to their opinion. And that's what the space here is all about. To the top of the screen, you see the email for Sabrina Speaks, and you also see the number as well. Now let's see what's happening with our weather forecast as we get in, because there's lots to cover this evening. Yes, and we're going to end at 7. Compliments of our friends there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Here's this evening's forecast from the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. The synopsis calls for light southerly winds that will move across the Northwest Caribbean due to a weak pressure gradient. Now, a few showers could linger around the Cayman area tonight into tomorrow, after which the passage of an upper level trough is likely to increase the cloud cover over the weekend as a ridge of high pressure builds at lower levels. This is distorting it. I'm sorry. Yes, at lower levels. And we see where the forecast for tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Winds will be easterly at 5 to 10 knots or less. Seas will be slights with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Tomorrow's forecast is calling for mostly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s with a heat index of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds will be easterly 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Today, there will be a high tide this evening at 8:29. Tomorrow, a low tide will be at 2:32 a.m. and another high at 7:35. Sun will set this evening at 6:51 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 5:51. Now, the outlook is calling for a gradual increase in winds and seas as a high pressure system builds over the southern United States, and a moderate concentration of dust looks to move into the Western Caribbean by Sunday morning, which may bring some hazy conditions for a time thereafter. There you have it. That is your news and weather forecast for this evening and into tomorrow. Yes, now let's see what is making our news headlines for this evening, starting with our local news. Premier Andre Ebanks has concluded a 2-day mission in Shanghai, meeting with leading financial services stakeholders as part of efforts to strengthen Cayman's position in the global market. Now, discussions were held with major institutions, including CITIC Group, Vistra, Hancon, ICS Corporate Services, and the Chinese Overseas Private Funds Association. The Premier also met with the British Chamber of Commerce, Harney Shanghai, and the British Consul General. The visit included a reception hosted by Appleby Shanghai, highlighting long-standing professional ties. The Governor's Office and Hazard Management Cayman Islands are advising the public of a planned SpaceX Starship 12 test launch scheduled between the 15th and 18th of May from Boca Chica, Texas. Officials says no impact is expected for the Cayman Islands, but standard precautionary guidance is being issued. Mariners should monitor Coast Guard navigation warnings, and aviation operators are asked to follow advisories from the Cayman's Airports Authority. Now, anyone who observes an unusual object is urged not to touch it and to report it immediately to 911 or Hazard Management Cayman Islands. In other local news for this evening, we turn our attention to the Cayman Islands government having approved the removal of all fees associated with expungement applications and declarations, making the process more accessible for eligible individuals seeking a fresh start. Officials says that the change supports the wider goals of fairness, rehabilitation, and reintegration, and reflects a commitment to people-centered public services. The policy shifts and is intended to strengthen communities by reducing barriers for those working to rebuild their lives. In another news making today's Sabrina Speaks headlines, the Cayman Islands government has released a summary of the Cabinet's meeting held on the 6th of May. At that meeting, Cabinet advised that the governor to grant a lease of Crown land to a registered non-for-profit organization and approved amendments to the criminal records regulations relating to applications for expungement. Now, the Cabinet also agreed to submit the Status of Children Amendment Bill to Parliament and confirmed new appointments to the Guardians ad litem panel committee, including Magistrate Vanessa Allard as chair. As we wrap up the local segment of the Sabrina Speaks news for this evening, Finance Minister Ralston Anglin has raised concerns about market dominance in several key sectors, telling Parliament that the government intends to address what he described as unfair practices and emerging monopolies. Speaking during the debate, he criticized fuel suppliers for price manipulation and said broader antitrust legislation is needed to tackle non-competitive behaviors across the economy. Anglin also pointed to the dark group's extensive hotel ownership, arguing that no single entity should control the entire industry. He said structural reforms are necessary to protect consumers and ensure a fair marketplace. We turn our attention this evening to regional and international news, starting with the Virgin Islands. Yes, more than 500 derelict vehicles have been removed from the Havers holding site and shipped overseas for processing. According to consultant L. Allen Wheatley of ENS Excavation and Trucking Services, the vehicles were exported to Miami by the end of April after being sold to a company there. Officials says the effort is part of ongoing work to clear abandoned vehicles and approved waste management across that territory. In other news making the region this evening, we turn our attention to Barbados, who are stretching beyond their shores. Barbados and Ireland have marked a major diplomatic milestone with the official opening of the Barbados new Chancery in Dublin and the celebration of 25 years of bilateral relationships. Now, the ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley, Senior Minister of Foreign Affairs Christopher Sinclair, and Barbados' first resident ambassador to Ireland, Telviston Haynes. Officials says that the occasion reflects deepening cooperation between the two nations with renewed focus on diplomacy, cultural exchange, trade, education, and stronger people-to-people ties. Across the pond now, we turn our attentions over to the UK. Yes, King Charles III has opened the new session of the United Parliament, declaring the 2026 King's Speech and outlining the government's legislative agenda for the year ahead. Now, more than 35 new bills were being proposed, including stricter immigration measures, expanding NHS reforms, and political changes to housing and digital identification. The government is also considering giving voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds and pursuing closer cooperation with the European Union. The speech comes as Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces political pressure following recent election results. And locking off the news segment, we turn our attentions to New York City. Yes, New York City police have destroyed more than 200 illegal mopeds as part of a major crackdown on vehicles increasingly linked to violent crimes. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says many of the bikes are uninsured, carry fake or altered plates, and are often used by criminals who rely on their speed and autonomy to flee officers. Investigators have tied alleged illegal mopeds and scooters to multiple robberies and even the shooting death of a 7-month-old girl last month. Now, officials noted that the crushed bikes represent only a fraction of the more than 5,700 seized so far this year. As we close out the news segment, we close it out with our business report for today. Yes, the U.S. markets finished higher today with all three major indices extending their recent gains. The Dow Jones crossed the 50,000 mark once again, closing up 0.75%. The S&P 500 also ended the day in record territory, raising just under 1%. And the Nasdaq led the pack, boosting by strong performance in tech and AI stocks. In global trading, Canada's TSX closed higher, while Europe's FTSE 100 and DAX both posted modest gains. Across Asia, Japan's Nikkei slipped slightly, and China's Shanghai Composite ended the day lower. Here in the region, Jamaica Stock Exchange saw small increases across its major indices, while right here at home, the Cayman Islands market reported a slight uptick in Caribbean utilities company shares. The commodities, oil prices edged higher, while gold pulled back from recent highs. That concludes it for this evening. Yes, that is your market update, news, and weather segment right here on Sabrina Speaks. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, one and all. How are we doing on this fabulous Thursday? Everyone's enjoying their day, I'm hoping, and looking forward to the long weekend ahead. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to it. Anybody going over to the BRAC? Who's going over to the BRAC? Who's going over to the BRAC? You don't have to necessarily be going for BRAC now, You could just be going over to just hang out. You could just be going over to have some fun in the sun. Yeah, right. I know all y'all would be going over there, could be tapping your foot, standing on the roadside saying, look at that one, and come back with a suitcase full of bread. Well, you know what? I am really, really looking forward to the weekend. I'm not going to the BRAC this year. This one is going to pass me, even though I had a blast, nevertheless. But for all of you who are going over there, please be safe, enjoy yourself, and just don't make no foolishness. Come back being reported to the Big Island. What happens in Vegas? That's the motto we're going to use, right? Stays in Vegas, I'm hoping. Yeah. Connie Bonnie's in the house. How are you today? Thank you. We heard your lovely voice. Donnie Bonnie is definitely coming up as well. And North Carolina love, I see you. I feel you too. Yep, we got to do this as we get our next segment line up here, because I'm not fortunate to have all those beautiful commercials, even though I know the ESO data is key. Yeah. Some of you told me, oh my God, Miss Sabrina, we can recite that now. Y'all too bad. That's how important it is. Anyhow, I got to let you know what's happening, because this is a career opportunity that I think is worth me putting some attention to. And what I'm talking about is the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. Yes, they have opened their first local police constable recruitment campaign for 2026. And the invitation and the call is out for young Caymanians to apply for entry-level constable roles. Now, this is the information. Successful applicants will complete a 22-week training program before serving a 2-year probation as frontline officers. And what the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is saying, that recruits can later specialize in areas such as community policing. You got criminal investigation opportunities. You can even go to traffic, financial crimes, intelligence, firearm response, even air operations. So it just doesn't stop there. So they're calling. The call is out. This could be you. If you see yourself being a law enforcement officer and want to show your interest into the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, the public call is out. Now, please note, applicants must be Caymanians, age 18 to 40, with no criminal convictions. And the deadline for this application is June 14th. So you can't say Sabrina didn't tell you. It's on their website. They got a beautiful little video out there as well, and all the beautiful clips showing you all the exciting things that can come with the job, as well. But you don't just limit yourself there. So if you didn't know, now you know, and you can't say what you want to call me. Auntie Sabrina didn't tell you. And also, community alert. I've been telling you about all of this, but the DEH has released a public release letting people know that is reminding all the residents that the bulk annual waste collection will wrap up in Georgetown this Saturday, May 16th. I have been at home and I have heard them. They have circled sometimes twice a day, going through the roads here in Prospect. I have been on the road and I have seen them. So Georgetown, Saturday is your final pickup collection day. That's May 16th. And then crews will then move to Bordentown Monday for week 3 of the schedule, with collection running through May the 23rd. What they're asking, though, is that residents are urged to separate and place bulk waste at the curb before their district's assigned week. This will help them eyeball what they're looking at. So if you can put yourself out ahead of time, they will know what type of equipment, how much staff, what roads and stuff they have to definitely cover, what the volume is like. So yes, they're asking you to put it out to the curb before their district assigned week. And they're reminding us that late items will not be collected and may be treated as illegal dumping. I have a warning on it, I warn you. So DH official says that this island-wide cleanup is an important part of hurricane season preparedness, and crews will only pass through each street once. So, I heard them today. I heard them, but that's me tuning in. I heard them in my area today. So there you have it on the screen, and I'm sharing those with you. And remember, this is a long weekend here. We got to remind you that you can still drop off your produce at one of the 4 locations. That's at the Farmers Market, the Cayman Community Farm in Newlands, Cayman Cabana, and at Thatch and Barrel out at Pedro. Because on Saturday, this is the Island Harvest Community Collaboration Leadership Man Class Project of 2026. Yes. So make sure you got all your produce and stuff. They're going to collect it. Kimmerbach, you're not left out either. Anyone who wants to participate in this over in the BRAC, you can drop your stuff off at Pioneer Bakery. And as Luigi says, he will touch base with the owners there, and they will definitely let you know what's going on. And look, tea party too, Saturday. I'm quite sure. If you're going, you better confirm it now. Yes. Leave me alone. I have a WhatsApp comment. You sickened. Anyhow, all you kids who want to play tea parties and you put all sorts of stuff on your daddies and mummies to dress up, but this is an opportunity for you to bring that to a reality. But your mums or dads, guardians, need to register you because space is limited, because this real tea party is going to go down at the Marriott, and that is happening on Saturday the 16th at 1:30. Yes, at the Marriott here in Grand Cayman, and children 8 and older accompanied by a parent or guardian are invited to join on this special afternoon, as the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and of course other sponsors making this event happen. And you know what? 2 days event, Culturama. We were telling you all about this yesterday, but it's good to remind you because there's just a lot going on. Yes, Culturama. Tickets are available via Eventpro, $25. It's 2 nights of culture and art and dance. And we know that they were doing this event today for students in schools to see what is going to be showcased. They got it on the house. They got it for free. And they had a question and answer segment as well. So congratulations to UCCI for giving them the opportunity to see what you're going to be showcasing. And to all of the persons who are participating, congratulations for you who have this love for arts. So yeah, spectacular event. And definitely we're nothing short of things to do this weekend here in the Cayman Islands. And Monday's a public holiday. It's Discovery Day. So you can take in everything if you're in Grand, or you're going to Kimmerbach, and you can start from tonight. Hink, hink. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's it. Oh my goodness. Can't say I don't have housekeeping. We're definitely getting content here on the space, and it's important for me to share it with you as we continue to build this space and prepare for the next chapter of CMR TV and CMR broadcasting. We're going to call it in. Everything's going to go, and eventually we will be broadcasting live on radio too. Hence, you see the change in the format as we get ready for the next chapter of your CMR family and what is in store for the future right here. I want to say huge happy birthday shout outs to everyone who's celebrating a birthday today. birthday, anniversary, celebrating life, whatever it is you're celebrating. Yep. And of course, some big names were in town yesterday as we said our farewell to a very, very prominent person in our islands, Mr. Hugh Hart. We had delegates and VIPs from Jamaica, and I even heard prime members of the United States were here, but also for anyone who has lost a loved one. Our thoughts and prayers go out to you. And even though that chapter is closed with Mr. Hart and his family, you know, the healing, there's no book for that. And the Harts and every other family member, the Gallegos, the Bodens, I'm going to miss some names, but you know who I'm talking to, who is mourning the loss of a loved one. Our thoughts and prayers go out to you as you navigate this time. Yes. Well, yes, Connie Bonnie was telling me that she wasn't here and now she got me. North Carolina love is here. Denver is in the house. What you say? All of the above. So I know you. I know you. You something else. Andrew, how are you? Yes, good evening to you as well. And by extension, the Cayman Islands. And look at there. We did all of that in 30 minutes. See, I even got the pace right, just so we give you solid content. Damian Henry, UK love. Gosh, I heard you guys had some horrible weather over there. Keep it. Miss Lucille, I saw your thing. It's good. You're still up with us tonight. Well, night where you are. What has Damien got for us today? Good evening, all. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. Yeah, find something to do. Thank you, Damien. You're a loyalist with giving us words and tips. Real Michelle's in the house. Howdy do to you, and virtual hugs as well. CE Banks is here as well. It's Maroy 1219. Hello to you wherever you're streaming us from, or we just love having you here. Please don't forget to tell your friends, like and share and follow. Yep. Connie shared with us her orchids for the day as her flower today. That's another old faithful, though, We could create content creators out of all honor. Every one honor. But this is beautiful, Connie. Thank you for sharing that with me. And look at that. Look at that beautiful purple one. That's nice. Yeah. Dawn's a little late to class today. But if she sends them, we'll definitely share it at some point with you as well. But like I said, it's good to have you joining me. A lot of you I know are loving the news headlines for sure. And we enjoy definitely bringing it here with you. There we go. I'm just uploading so we can get on to where we were yesterday. Yeah. So it's good to be back with you this evening as we continue to wrap up, and my pleasure, my love. As we continue to wrap up this and keep the spotlight on this unaudited financial report for the first quarter of 2026. I see we're some little signal here. Come on, let me just do this. Hold on here. Facebook is just giving me a warning. Hold on. See what I tell you about them? Oh, Lord. Here we go. May have a blip, but I'm right back. I'm back. So for my Facebook people, yeah, we should be back in a couple seconds. There we go. Could be under a reel now, or could be under a video. You just got to refresh. Whatever it is, it gave me a warning, so I just added it back. But yeah, so you would have had a dip for a couple seconds there. So please, let me just make sure that let me share the link again, just in case you lost me there for a second. But I will just share the link below because I did get a warning. There we go. Just in case you lost me for a second and you want to share it. There we go for all my people. Miss Maxwell, how are you doing? Good afternoon. About the police officers needed, about the police officers needed, it to who they want. They give it to who they want, Sabrina. I know of a very nice young Caymanian man, clean police clearance, passed CSE. That's GCSE, passes with applied 2 times. If he does this time, it will be the 3rd time. This place isn't for Caymanians, but just in my opinion right now, even with housing program, I'm going to change my passport next. Laugh out loud. Have a good evening. Miss Juanita, I'm really hoping that, they have a right to ask why they're failing with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. They have a right to find out what's going on. And I'm sorry that you feel that way with the housing, bearing in mind, Miss Juanita, that they did admit over 3,000. There's a gap. There is a huge gap in housing. Hence, this big reform now is trying to fill the gap, and the discussions are ensuing about prefabricated homes. Remember, we brought up a topic here. We had a whole thing on that about why this policy is good and how it will fill the gap and people could find homes quicker, and it's cheaper as well. So, but with the recruitment thing, I hope that if he's that adamant, that he's that wanting to serve and protect and represent us in the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, that he'll go back the 3rd time. Maybe the 3rd time is the charm, Miss Juanita, because at least he can't say he didn't get 2 times of practice, and he knows exactly if there's something that he's falling short on. Just at least he knows the environment. He can see where he or she's falling. You said he, right? Where he fell short, and hopefully that he'll be successful, and you'd be able to share that news with us, because we will continue to share it here. I just saw it, and I definitely want to make sure that we share the news, because we're talking about our people not getting job opportunities. We know that our numbers here for Caymanians are low. There is no reason, unless you don't want to be employed, why you're either not self-employed or be able to find a job to do something. It may not necessarily be what you want, but based on the numbers in our statistics, I don't really feel we should have an unemployment issue at all in the Cayman Islands unless you so choose to, or medical reasons. You understand what I'm saying? But if you really have that appetite to want, he said he applying to get good. 3rd time's a charm. Miss Juanita, keep us updated. Keep us updated. Yeah. Our numbers, and in comparison to some other places, I mean, people who say, Sabrina, hush. We don't want to compare us to anybody else. We need to make sure that we not only give our people a fair chance, but even when you get the opportunity, that the environment isn't against the locals and that we are paid fairly. Now, that's a wider discussion, but I don't want to take away from the substantive conversation. But remember, tomorrow's open mic, and we can get into that, because we are hearing the discussions that the wages and all of this sort of stuff, unscrupulous behaviors, and from both sides as well. So I think with everything that we're facing, the reality is based on the statistics, and we're breaking it down here in layman's terms, that our numbers of Indigenous people are really, really, we outnumbered. We can't have children fast enough. We cannot, based on our pace of growth. And with immigration reform and with the data coming out here, it has to be paid somewhere, money, revenue, creative ways for the country, the government to be able to present a balanced, true budget. It's a delicate dance. It's a delicate dance. So I'm not going to give you my conclusion, because this space is for you. I'm just delivering the results. And this is why I welcome your feedback here this evening. You are more than welcome. Yeah, but I hope he does try again, Miss Juanita. You're more than welcome. Denver says, why didn't they advise him why he failed? 2nd times they should see his desire to become a police officer. Well, that's why Denver tell him 3rd time's a charm. 3rd time's a charm. And she's going to definitely keep us abreast with what's going on with that. Not that we're demanding anything, but what we're saying is, if somebody has that type of interest and there's nothing mentally, physically, intellectually wrong with the individual, I'm quite sure there are other offerings that is in the area that maybe he may qualify for. So let's see. Where there's a will, there's a way. And with that type of motivation and determination, Miss Juanita, you know what? 3rd time's a charm. There we go. Denver, they only said his application was received. That's it. Oh, he didn't even get shortlisted? He didn't even get to go to the physical side? Ooh, okay. Third time's a charm. We can put it out into the universe, girl. We can put it out there. Tell him to reapply. Tell him to reapply. Third time's a charm. And maybe on this application, put the big number 3. Third time. At least shortlist me. At least shortlist me. Give me a chance. Because what I'm hearing from you, he's not even gotten shortlisted. So what could be the turnoff? You said that he passed. He had the requisite entry for the thing. So not even getting shortlisted. Yeah, that kind of, something would be wrong there. Third time's a charm. Yeah. Keep us posted, Miss Juanita. Keep us posted, my sweet. For all of you just joining me, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight's program, we continue where we left off yesterday, and there's only really a little bit left of that document that we were sharing with you yesterday. Please note this program is not politics. It's not blame. It's not fair. It's about truth, clarity, understanding, and bringing awareness to things that matter and impacts us all some way, somehow. And as we continue to walk through the government's Q1 of 2026 financial results, that's their unaudited financial statement. We put this up here on the screen for you. We see where we've gone through all of these foregone revenues. We're seeing all of that. We see all of the stuff that we have here, the expenses, the personnel costs. We went through the statutory authorities line by line yesterday. And thanks for the feedback that I'm getting. You're like, oh my gosh, Sabrina, I didn't realize that they had owed so much money. And this statutory authority, and that how much money, but something not making sense, Miss Sabrina. I'm not here to answer. I just here to deliver the results. I just reading it. And then you see the GG Ham program that's ended. And then the one for the small businesses. Yeah. So this is where we were. This is where we're going to pick up from today, because it's really not that much remaining. And then I'm going to break it all down for you for really what it means, just in case you're joining us for part 2 and you didn't really digest all of this for yourself. Because unless we understand what's really happening, this whole thing about they got to take care of me because I'm their responsibility, it has to be funded. Bottom line, it has to be funded. So let's just go straight into it this evening. But the phone lines are open, 936-8255, because I want to let you know that there is financial management rules for how core government operates, okay? And that is on the screen. And what I'm talking about is the Public Management and Finance Act. That is the legislation that sets out the 6 rules that defines what responsible financial management looks like for the Cayman Islands government. So that's their Bible. That's their 10 commandments then, so to speak, right? And what these rules are is that they're designed to protect the country, supposedly, from overspending if they're followed right. You hear? That is the Public Management and Finance Act. In there are the rules that are designed to protect the country from overspending, excessive borrowing, and financial instability. Number 1, the government must earn more than it spends is a rule. Revenues must exceed expenses, meaning you must have more money coming in than what you're spending. And this, my friends, means that the country is required by law to operate with a surplus. Number 2, the government's net worth must also remain positive, not a negative, not in the red, AKA. And what that really means is that the value of what government owns must always be greater than what it owes. The value of what the government owns, what they own, must be greater than what they owe. And then there's a third level to it: debt repayments. That includes interests and principals. They cannot exceed 10% of the government's annual income. The interest and principal cannot exceed government's annual revenue. And what this is that it prevents borrowing from becoming a burden that then pretty much suffocates out essential or squeezes out essential services. And there's a fourth one to it. Net debt cannot exceed 80% of core government income, core government revenue. And the net debt is calculated by taking, listen now, by taking a total borrowing and subtracting liquid assets like cash and deposits. Yeah. And what this does is that this ensures the country always has enough liquidity, cash, liquid, to cover most, it didn't say all, most of its obligations. And there's a fifth part to it. The government must maintain at least 90 days of cash reserves. At no times should they go less than 90 days unless there is some serious reasons, serious reasons, right? They can't do it. They're not supposed to do it. And what this does, my friends, is that this puts them in a very good international standing, understanding that we're a financial jurisdiction. So this rainy day rule ensures that even if revenue stopped tomorrow, if income stopped coming in tomorrow, the government could continue to operate for at least 3 months and respond to any emergencies, for example, like hurricanes, without having to borrow a cent. So you understand, that is the rainy day. So what they did, they didn't push it to 1 month. They didn't push it to 2 months. They pushed it to 3 solid months, 90 days of cash reserves. And finally, also in this, the government must also manage financial risks responsibly, prudently. They must manage financial risks. And that includes loan guarantees. Remember, we spoke about those yesterday. Pension obligations, shortfall, and other contingent liabilities, meaning they take the responsibility of these GG hams, saying people will pay them back, small business loans. They stand as security people. And it's only when the borrowers, Caymanians, me and you, who take up these government grants and do not honor our requirements, government has to put aside a rainy day fund for these contingent liabilities, meaning if I fall short, then the government bails out, and then they honor the financial institution that I did business with, for example. And also to minimize the chance of these risks turning into unexpected expenses. So when we hear about these, all of these grants and all that good stuff, right? It's not that they don't want help, but are you really, really, really prepared in honoring your obligations? There's one thing, government got plenty of money. There's no free lunch either, because it has to be paid back some way, somehow. And then what we need to understand as everyday citizens is that the rules that are in this piece of law explains why Cayman maintains cash reserves that are so strong, and why the debt levels must be kept low, and why the financial discipline is built into the very said law. And they are the foundation of the country's financial stability and a key reason why our home, the Cayman Islands, remains resilient in the face of global uncertainty. Yes. So here you will see me having, and I will download this link after the show today so that you will get access to this document. You will see where it shows the cash flows. It shows the cash flow of core government and the operating activities. And this section is explaining how the government cash moves or has moved during this first quarter of 2026. And what it shows here is that it is different from the revenue and expenses, but it's also about the actual cash in hand or cash in and the cash that went out. So that's the important thing. And there are three categories that are actually explained in this document. The categories are operating activities, and what that is day-to-day government operations. Category 2 is investment activities. These are under this are like fixed deposits, capital projects, like if they want to build a new prison, if they want to build a new courthouse, extend the legislative, the parliament, stuff like that, capital projects, right? And equipment and investments. And then you got the third category, financing activities, debt repayment, and leases. So when we look at this, government cash actuality, how it moves, we see things like collecting fees and duties and even paying of salaries and expenses. The government generated a cash. We see here that the government generated a net cash flow of $269 million. And that means that the operating surplus that we discussed yesterday translated directly into real money, real cash in the bank because it wasn't spent. And in investing activities tell a different story though. Yeah, because the government had $82.6 million coming in. And that was coming in mostly from fixed deposits that had matured. But what it did, it also placed $331.7 million into new fixed deposits and spent $23.5 million on capital projects and investments in statutory authorities. Now, my friends, the net effect was a cash outflow of $262.5 million. So let me break that down because that was a lot to digest, I admit, right? The government moved large amounts of monies into interest earning deposits, which is part of its strategy to manage liquidity and to generate investment income. Remember what I referred to yesterday as your money making money. That's what it did. And what we see then as well is that where financial activities, I got ahead of myself there, is included debt repayments and lease payments that resulted in a cash outflow of $13.1 million, which ended up being $10.7 million of that went towards paying down debt and $2.7 million covered lease obligations. So all those departments, for example, departments that are out somewhere else renting from private owned companies, there could be long-term leases, warehouses, storage, a number of things could fall under that, okay? And what is a big takeaway here from this is that the government's operations are generating, yes, strong cash. And much of that cash is being placed into fixed deposits to earn interest. And what we see then is capital spending is ongoing but modest. And then we see that the debt continues to be paying down, which is good because we're able to do that. And this, my friends, these movements of monies reflects then a cautious, sometimes as a minister sitting down by the table when Mr. Jefferson come and say, you can't do that, you can't do that. Oh, we're tapping into this. You feel like you want to strangle him because you know what you want to deliver for your country, your people, your constituencies. And they're telling you, no, but the rule says this and the rule says that. That's speaking from experience. But my friends, this movement reflects a cautious and conservative approach to managing the country's finances. Now, I know I'll have some of my colleagues say too conservative while my people out there suffer. Yeah, but fall afoul and can't come back to pay it. Then what? So I'm on the fence a little bit more with at this time because of what's happening geopolitically. And let me tell you something, it ain't no lifeboat coming anytime soon because what's happening around the world, we're not immune. So I think if it's one time we have to be very cautious as a country in a national budget, it should be now. So I can see this right now being a case where cautious is going to tick off some possible members. And it's just being cautious. Like in a household, you adjust your sales accordingly until the height of the storm is over or it passes, and then delay and then execute, knowing you'd be able to do it from a more comfortable position. In the event that things goes ugly, you can still remain standing on your 2 feet. Now let's talk a little bit about capital expenditures. And that is the money government spends on long-term assets like buildings, equipment, roads, investment in statutory authorities as well. And what we saw in this document here that's on the screen, for the first quarter of 2026, the government spent a total of $23.5 million on capital projects. 19.5 million of that went towards property, plants, and equipment. And $4 million went towards equipment investments in statutory authorities and government companies. That's what this document is outlining. However, only $19.3 million in capital appropriations have been drawn down from the budget thus far. So what that does, my friends, is that creates a timing difference of about $4.2 million, meaning, listen to this, that some money has already been spent, but the corresponding budget drawdown will happen at a later date, which is all within the confines of the rules. Now, this is normal in the early part of the financial year. You don't want to do this at the end, trust me. And what we're seeing here in this document is that the appropriations drawn, $7.5 million supported by capital projects within ministries and departments. And what we see of that is $4 million went to statutory authorities, of which $2.6 million to Cayman Airways and $1.3 million to the Turtle Center. And in the same first quarter, $7.8 million was drawn to fund executive assets, which included government-owned infrastructure like roads, schools, public buildings, maybe even a few docks here and jetties, that sort of stuff, right? And what I want you all to just take away from all of that is that capital spending for this context and looking at a national budget is underway. We're seeing it, but still relatively modest for the first quarter. And what we're also seeing based on this report is that many projects are in planning or procurement stage, and spending typically increases later on in the year. Sometimes this frustrates a sitting member of parliament. And this is why it's important for us to put the highlight on this, because all of these processes has to go through compliance with the financial management, fiscal responsibility, and then all of these internal processes do take time. And we see where in the document it calls it out. Many projects are in planning or procurement stage. And as a result of that, the spending increases later in the year. Now, what we see is that these investments are very essential, because what they're doing is that it improves our infrastructure. It supports tourism, and it also maintains public assets that serve the community every day. So sometimes you'd say, oh yeah, election coming. That's why they're doing it now. I hope you understand that's not always the case. Many times it is the systems that slows it down. The funds moving from one department within government to fund the other department in order to execute on a project can sometimes also delay. And hence you have the procurement process. So it's not always as it appears, even though it may sound good. And sometimes I could be honest with you, the timing is perfectly would align with the scenario that you're giving. But that's not always the case. And as we conclude this document, because the rest of the document has just a number of graphs and stuff that in your own time, once I send you the link, you would be able to compare, but juggling from back and forth would have been too much. What we're seeing in conclusion of delivering this report to you, because now we're going to dissect it and what it means to you after I tell you what it all means. Based on this report, the government's financial performance for the first quarter of 2026 shows a strong start to the year. And what it shows is that the entire public sector recorded a net surplus of $328.1 million. And what that is, my friend, is that's $58.3 million more than the budget expected. Now, this favorable position we see, based on all that we discussed, was definitely driven by higher than expected revenues. And that was highlighted particularly from the financial services, property-related fees, and by stronger than expected performance from statutory authorities and government companies. What this also shows is that SAGCs, statutory authorities, contributed a positive $6.3 million to the overall surplus, performing $7.4 million better than the deficit that had been projected for them. So you hear sometimes we say that they're overly conservative. The projections sometimes forecasting can skew things a little bit. But based on this report, this is what it's saying. And also it says, and this is reporting, that government's cash position remains very strong in the first quarter of 2026, ending with quarter at $722.6 million. However, this report makes one very, very poignant point, a very important point, and I don't want you all to miss it. The point is that this surplus will not last, because as the year progresses, operating costs will increase, vacancies will be filled. We also see capital projects will move forward, and major expenditures will also come online. And these planned activities will significantly reduce the surplus recorded at the end of March 2026. So what I need you to stick with everything that we have shared here this evening and from yesterday is that this first quarter report shows financial stability and strong revenue performance, but it is only the beginning of the year. We can celebrate, oh yeah, because so far we look as though we're playing by the rules. But the real test will be how the government now manages rising costs, project delivery, and service demands over the remaining 9 months of 2026. Can you imagine? That's how quickly time flies. So, my friends, we have delivered this unaudited financial statement to you in its entirety, even though it was higher level. And what you're seeing me going through is all of the sections that we covered yesterday and into today, because some of these graphs just could not fit directly onto the subheadings that we had, right? So where do we go with this information now that is reported? What is next? The phone lines are open, 936-8255. 936-8255, because I had persons questioning value for money yesterday. And we're realizing retirement funds, pensions are underfunded. We're seeing where there's escalating costs in medical, and that's happening globally. We see where geopolitical pressures are impacting all of us. And people are wondering. People are concerned. People are saying, are we really in the position that we can say we good? This hantavirus, this rat thing, this whole thing, I mean, come on. And then we're coming up to the beginning of hurricane season. Where do we stand? We're trying to do immigration reform. There's strong conversation out there that people are leaving because the cost of living is just too high. The impacts of Caymanians feeling less and the impacts of you being a minority in your own home country is becoming a reality. Where the money is coming from in order for us to sustain ourselves, sustain our country, without levying some sort of increases. Is it sustainable? A lot of you have asked. One thing is to remember, Cayman's government does not collect income tax. It does not take a portion of anybody's salary. And it does not tax your business profits. So where does the money come from? I ask it again. We got 3 main pillars. And until we get more creative and create some more, let's deal with the facts. Financial services, legal services, real estate, just to name some. No priority into, you understand? Then you got income from tourism as well. But let's just look at financial service and the fees generated from there. Because I don't know where we all live, but I know where I live. And between the ESO data and the harsh realities of this unaudited financial statement, where the money could come from. Financial services, and it was declared in the document, company registrations, fund fees, regulatory fees, licensing fees. This sector alone brings in hundreds of millions of Cayman dollars. Then you got your legal service fees, such as your court fees, your probate fees, your corporate fees, notary fees. The legal sector supports the financial sector. They go hand in hand. And together, they're the backbone of government revenue, whether or not you want to believe it. The numbers don't lie. The data don't lie. And this is why you hear the judiciary screaming, we need proper facilities. Let us get a good working environment so that we can get better processes, better services, quicker return times, that sort of stuff. Because even though the big capital injection for them to retrofit a bank, penny wise, pound foolish is what it's resulting to, but gratitude is still there. We got to look at the numbers and we got to make it make sense. And if the truth is told, when we are addressing our people to say we have to prioritize, because if you don't want us to tax every man by increasing these driver's license fees, these little scooters, increase trade and business fees instead of doing the government waiver, increasing police records, increasing, you get where I'm going. Lower the income duty for residents. Imagine if they do that. The money has to come from somewhere. And I'm just picking at some examples. Or, I'm sorry, core government, we can no longer pay 100% of your medical insurance unless you're retired. Can you pay 10%? If you're a single person? If you're a family of 3 or 4, can you pay 30%? That will then offset. It's all a magic of numbers. Why? Because we don't have income tax. And government has to look at ways in which they get money. Look at real estate. It's a delicate balance when developers ask for concessions. But if we got a whole heap of people that need jobs in the construction industry, that Caymanian local owned companies get subcontractors, subcontracted contracts from, or even they may get a contract. You got to give some to get some. Because planning fees come out of that. Filing a plumbing and electrical. And you got your architectural fees and all of those sort of stuff. Not being an expert in the industry. Those are all fees that are coming into core government. Stamp duty, land transfer, registration fees. The increase from 7.5% to 10% alone boosted revenue significantly. These numbers, my friends, I'm taking out of the very same unaudited financial statement to bring it down to say, if we cut any of these, where is the money coming from? I've done my little bullet points here. So if you see me glancing down, I'm making sure I'm keeping up with the conversation. We then have to look. Oh, I know some of you are not going to want to hear this. We got to look then. Work permit fees. It's real. Permanent residency fees. Status fees. AKA right to be Caymanian. That's the proper name. police records, landing taxes, import duties, tourism fees. These are all a part of the revenue model for income. And this is how your country runs. And I am barely scratching the surface. If these sectors slow down, guess what slows down with it? Revenue slows down. And that's just the reality. I was wondering when you were going to call. Good evening, caller. You're live. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? You see that thing that the man from Trinidad put out about this whole cancer virus or something, trying to educate the public? That's on my mind. Afraid of that. That's what, I don't know if you see it, but if you see
Yes,
it,
Miss Lucille shared it with me,
that,
but I did.
that is what you should put out and try to educate from it, because that's going to be frightened these idiots.
Michelle,
if that get in the pilot, we're not going to need nothing.
Michelle, tomorrow is open mic. I will go through the authenticity of that video and I can bring it up tomorrow. But right now, we're wrapping up the segment.
So who don't understand that dumb? And that's why I'm telling them about the table. That ship now content, and that ship now this, that ship now content. But some of the people that were problem on that ship, because we got everything here. We got everything here. And people, the ship might be content, but people don't keep it behind still, and they're running in there away. And I'm sure some of them that were on that problem here, because that's a serious shit. They think COVID or anything, make us get that let loose wrong here. Make that get him. Okay. And how worry about revenue, nor nothing, all that. How worry about is your peace ready with God, because you're going to die.
But Michelle, don't you think if it does get here that government does not have to spend, and this is why we're talking about contingency of 3 months? No, you have been very vocal about even getting your hold on, Michelle. Let's rein it back into the topic at hand. That is a part of the resilience and your country being able to fund to combat situations like that, aka emergencies. And when you talk about how long it has taken for you to get repairs, one second. When you say they have taken forever to deal with repairs on your house, Michelle, if there's one person need to understand exactly what these numbers are, it's you. You have been waiting on this, Michelle, but you need to understand that it's all a part of the same pie. But no, the video was shared with me, and I will be I will be doing it. And this is why it's important.
I get it. If I do get it, and I worry about it, because they can do more than what they were doing long before they get like this. This was offered us, so that's no excuse. Like my mother say, any excuse. They say what comfort. Holidays promises is comfort to food. This not just been now that this government is in whatever. This been a long time ongoing. So I do take that. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not stupid, but they could have had this done long before now.
What are you talking about?
That's why I am a person that if you got something to do and you can do it today, don't leave it for tomorrow.
But Ms. Sharma, do you realize dealing with an individual versus dealing with an entire country is two different things? I'm being unbiased, and I'm just being practical.
I was born in a mañana country, but I don't believe in mañana. If I got something to do today, I got to do it today or die.
That isn't how it works on a national platform. Because the checks and balances has to work out.
Whatever. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know what you're saying, but still.
Yeah. So I can understand how emotive this is, how frustrating it is. But unfortunately, my love, with any country from a national, when you're using the people's money, it takes long, and that's where it frustrates constituents. But this is why it's important for representatives.
That's another scenario too. So that's what it is.
That's why it's important for representatives to educate. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Bye. Mm-hmm. I don't want to bother bashing me. Thank you so much.
Michelle, thank you. This is why, from a national perspective, I take the time to break this down and to just make it make sense, because it's not just that simple. And I could call out every MP right this second You have an obligation to educate your constituents when things like this just go longer than usual. If you see where your constituents are on this waiting list, either for a house or repairs or whatever, you have a right to call a meeting, go on a Facebook Live, call in on platforms like this. Sometimes you need to just go to your constituents' houses and just have a sit down and explain to them. By then, based on the length of time they have been reaching out and crying, and like Michelle, she's a perfect example. There's so many others that are frustrated right now with the system. But to everyone, whether this is a spillover from 2 administrations ago, 4 administrations ago, the mere fact that you are an elected MP right now and their constituents that are waiting, you have a responsibility to explain and educate your constituents how it works, which is why I'm taking the time to break this down. Yes, we have this hantavirus out there. And yes, there's a video in circulation, but I have to check the authenticity of that video. I'm not going to play it just because it's making its way around social media. Yes, it's important. But this is also important because what I'm getting into next is very important, because we see in this very same budget where healthcare is highlighted, the Minister of Finance, Ralston, said it. He cautioned. And that was, he was a nail tip away from saying, look, I do not know how much longer we are going to be able to hold the cost of healthcare together. And I'm not putting words in his mouth, and I'm not speaking on his behalf. But what this continues to reflect is that indigent care, geriatric care, overseas medical care, this quarter alone, overseas care cost was $14.1 million. That's not money that is staying in this country. That's money that is gone, that has to be paid overseas for our indigent, geriatric people. Overseas medical care is all lumped into that. And that is only the first quarter. First 3 months, $14.1 million. And we see where scholarships cost $12.7 million in just 3 months. We see where social assistance, financial assistance cost $8.9 million. And yes, civil service salaries, personnel costs were 131 million Cayman dollars. And that was below budget because there's still vacancies that are not filled, which means it's going to increase. The more the civil service employs, the more that $131 million will increase as well. That includes the pensions, that includes medical, not only for the individual that is working, but by extension, their families who they declare on their contract. And we see where capital projects, which is your roads, schools, buildings, only 19.5 million spent so far. So far is the operative words. This is the cost of running our country for the first 3 months of 2026. And life continues. Procurements then approved. People are then hired. Civil servants retire. Payment packages go with them. Yes, as hard as it to digest. Fuel cost, geopolitical, hurricane season, hantavirus, any other kind of virus, any other natural disasters. We saw where the other morning Jamaica had a 4 point what? 4 point something earthquake? Yeah. Hence the contingency of 90-day surplus. They were saying maybe we need to do 4 months. These are real. There are some sobering truths about healthcare. Sobering, and it's outlined in the document. It has been said on the floor of Parliament by the Minister of Finance, who has spoken loudly that healthcare is becoming one of the biggest pressures on the budget. Indigent care exceeded the budget and continues to exceed it. Because I'm unbiased, I'm not even going to give you my time in that seat. So I will not digress. I'll stick in being unbiased and just deliver the facts. Geriatric care exceeded the budget. Overseas medical care exceeded the budget. And then you ask why? Because we're seeing where our population is aging. We're seeing where chronic illnesses are rising. We're also seeing specialized care is expensive. And many of our own Caymanians cannot afford private insurance. And even those who are willing to get private insurance, midway through, they are dropped for whatever reason. When they do need them, they're capped and says, go to Sinico. You Caymanian, go, your country will, your government will take care of you. That's the truth. But here's another fact. Healthcare costs are rising faster than we can see government revenue coming in. When you really look at it. It's not political. It's just math. You saw where some amendments were made the other day, putting a lot of responsibility on the Minister of Health. God be with her. And anybody who comes into that position. Because unless it's funded, we're going to have problems. Unless certain guardrails are put into place. Eventually, if you're not responsible enough, you're going to be making decisions to protect yourself. But oh no, we're more professional than that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that our numbers continue to rise. And let me repeat what this unaudited financial statement has highlighted. It has highlighted exactly what the Minister of Finance is signaling. And I quote, not the financial minister, what is coming out of the report. Health care costs are rising faster than government revenue. Health care costs are rising faster than the money government is collecting. And if we do not address it, the system will become unsustainable. So to the two ministers, the minister responsible for health and the minister for finance, I said it for you. And your report says it too. When you look at then the cost of caring even for our elderly, We're seeing where the elderly population is growing. People are living longer. That's a fact nationally, all over the world. But what's also a true reflection is that medical needs are also increasing. And in this statement, geriatric care extended the budget by $2 million in just 3 months. Now, is it a matter of just wrong coding? Is it a matter of, I don't know. Unless you do a deep dive into these executive output payments in the ministry and you do a true audit, which for the record, the executive outputs, and I stand to be corrected if it changed since 2021 and the 31st of October, 2024. Executive output payments from the ministry are not audited. Unless they're coding these things to a different line item, what this is saying, geriatric care exceeded the budget by $2 million in just 3 months. This is only the beginning of a year. So the questions we must ask, are we prepared for the cost of long-term care? And if we are, then that means it has to be funded. How? What are we going to be funding it with? Has to offset something? Or maybe, there's something magic that will do it. The other question is, do we have enough facilities? Enough caregivers? Because all of that, my dear, requires sufficient funding. This, though, my friends, is not just a government's problem. This is a national problem. This is huge. And this is a reality. This is not loom and this is not gloom. We're just dissecting the numbers that is in the unaudited financial statement. Some may be a little bit more reserved in how they deliver because of their position, and I can respect that. And some of them may not necessarily want to deliver the sobering facts because they're optimistic based on forecasting. But when it comes to healthcare and the cost, that is one thing you can't deny that has not held its own and holding its own ground, stating every report that has come out for decades, healthcare continues to be the noose around this country's national debt. Healthcare cost. An executive output is a lump sum of monies that is given directly to a ministry, and each line item should they fall short, they then fund, for example, as the former Minister of Health, there's executive outputs that you have in a transfer payment, one line item, let's say to help persons who are going away for medical scholarships, to do things within the community, to sponsor schools, that sort of stuff that aligns with your ministry, or to help a young person or a senior person, right? Once it aligns with your ministry. And then, for example, there were additional funds that was placed in the Ministry of Health that fund geriatrics, the ambulance, public health, dementia, Jasmine, and all that sort of stuff, that is in full control of the minister, and they can actually pay these departments for those things. But these line items, there are like 21 or 22 line items directly in the ministry under the minister's control that is not audited. They're not audited. So even if I got a report to say, let me see what I am paying for geriatric services, because as the Minister of Health, I am responsible for every one of these line items. I'm responsible for the budget. Show me, without divulging, key indicators of where that went to. Or, for example, what is this line item for ambulance for? Is it for overtime? Is it for maintenance of the ambulance? Tell me what it's for. You have to literally ask those questions. And then hopefully you'll get the answer. And hopefully the answer will be factual. I have the right as a minister then to ask those questions because I'm responsible for all of those line items. And what you can do is just take what they give it for you. There are huge reports that comes with just outputs for this, outputs for that, and you're signing off because the ministry is sending these checks to, for example, that statutory authority as the Minister of Health. But there was no way as a minister that you're trying to see, well, is that really a geriatric Caymanian? Is that really one of my people? Is that it? You're flying blind and literally trusting what is given to you, yet you're funding it. And then I asked, why aren't these audited so that you can see where and I can really be accountable for seeing exactly to the people whether or not there any funniness going on? How do I know that that something that is for possible public health is being used for public health, but is probably used for something else, if you understand what I'm saying? These are questions that I asked that were sound because I'm responsible to you. But you go there, my love, and it ain't good. So yeah, live happy. That's what these executive outputs, and these are in every ministry. Then you have the right to ask. I am hoping, based on my experience that I have shared publicly and otherwise, that is one thing they could possibly look into, because there's a level of accountability then of holding certain departments that these monies are constantly going to pay. It actually would give the minister more security of saying, yes, well, okay, I'm seeing why I'm doing this. Yeah, it may take a lot of time. No one says the role is easy. That's why you've elected your MP to do, right? And worse, if they get a ministry, if you ask the right questions because you are accountable to the people that put you there, it shouldn't be used against you so you're making trouble or you're just asking too much questions. You have a responsibility. I'm only speaking of experience, but I'm hoping now that things have changed and they have improved since the 31st of October, 2024. Hey, Dean, good to hear from you. So the government idea is to keep inflating the population, to keep funding the same crisis we keep creating. The narrative seems to be we can't stop the train, or politicians need to think out of the box and stop saying nothing can be done or afraid to do what needs to be done. Very sound. You took your ginkgo but today or what, Dean? You've been on the ball, boy. I heard you this morning. Oh my God, that was a lot. Oh God, yeah, that was a lot. But yeah, thank you for comment. Nevertheless, I love your contribution. Dean also says, a lot of these solutions can be fixed with a flick of a pen and courage. Yes and no. It's not as easy as you think. And some ministries are easier to actually make significant change. But if we don't educate our people and we fail to deliver at the pace in which your people have elected you, then in layman's terms, you're a waste person. You're a waste of time. Yeah. Not realizing that there's a whole new world in there when you're a minister. And it's not as simple as you think, because when you're thinking in isolation of an individual, like I was trying to explain to Ms. Shalma, versus a responsibility of dealing with an entire country that you have to be responsible of, it's not just that simple. It's literally not that simple. Denver says, exactly, no proper accountability being held by MPs, which is not acceptable, must also be audited. I was shocked, to be honest, Denver, when my chief officer told me that those are not audited. And I was like, why? And it was as though I was like, it was like I stepped in. They were very supportive, but I guess it could be a mixture of things that I was actually asking for it because I understood my role. but then maybe because it was never asked for before. I don't know. I can't speak on their behalf. But all I know, every time I had to sign off on a lot of these things, yeah, I did it because in the role and the ministry, you didn't want to hold up payments because you were impacting the flow of that department, number one, even though you had questions. And you didn't want to block services from everyday people because you have to pay your overseas vendors, you had to pay Cynical and all that sort of stuff. And me asking, I demand this, I demand that. Guess what would have happened? You guys would have had me overthrown a long time before that. Why? Because it would not have been enough for you to understand what I was trying to do. When I have to give responsibility, or anybody in that position really is doing their job and give you, sometimes there may come a snag in the road, but nothing to be detrimental, nothing to stop services. And it shouldn't. But at the end of the day, I will stand unapologetically in this statement. Executive outputs must be audited. And I'm not going to change that stance, because what's being paid for these outside vendors and all that sort of stuff, who's doing the checks and balances? As a minister, you're signing off for them and you're just hoping it's being done and that they're linking the billing to the right things, but there's no way granular for a minister to go through in that great detail to find out whether or not there are gaps or inconsistencies or queries. There's just none. And even if you ask, yeah, and this is why you all need to be informed and educated how the system works. And I will repeat, I hope in time that those executive outputs are audited. Good evening, caller. You're live. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Miss Sabrina and Cayman.
Good evening.
Everyone is well. Just want to say you're doing an awesome job of explaining to those that do not understand how government works, how reports work, and sometimes we must sit and we must listen. If we do not understand it, we have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They are, how can we say this? There are a lot of things that are urgent in this country right now. And we all know what they are, correct or not? It doesn't matter regardless of our situation. How do I put this so people don't get upset at what I'm trying to say? Sometimes life gets us into situations we never imagined we would get into.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to depend on the only avenue that there is, because there is no other avenue, which is the government.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, it is up to each and every one of us, whether we are working or whether we are not, and we depend on certain services or other services from government. Because people have to understand at the end of the day, you go to vote, you have a voice. If you don't want to vote, you still have a voice. Because there are two pieces to this puzzle. There is the government that is there running the country. You have the opposition. They are those that don't vote. So there is that voice for them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have those that voted. The government is their voice. But what we have to do is get to a point in this country where we hold every elected official. It does not mean whoever you are, whatever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean because I did not vote for you in the constituency I live in, that I do not have a voice. You still have a voice, and you still have two voices, I call it. You have the voice of the opposition for you, and you have the voice of the government. Because I will say this, we all No, Cayman is an aging population.
Mm-hmm.
And like we keep saying, it would not put a dent in our population if every young male and female that is married today that doesn't have a child created one the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to put that dent there. We are a overseas place for companies to operate business. We are a service industry. And when you create an industry and you import persons for it, what takes place in countries where the people cannot live
Mm-hmm.
from day to day and be happy in their own country? That has happened here to Caymanians. This is real.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I keep saying. We cannot continue to import people into this country at the cost of Caymanians.
Correct.
Foreigners coming here are coming here for a reason to make money, either never leave or pack up and leave. And Caymanians have nowhere to go. We are not traveling the world like we did in seaman years, in our fathers and our forefathers' years.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where we are today. We have grown too fast. And every Caymanian has to take stock and realize we were the ones that sat down and listened to this stupidity from government after government, from legislative assembly member after, now to MPs of the House of Parliament in the Cayman Islands. We all deserve better, and the people representing us have to learn that when we vote for you, we have voted for a reason. Cayman needs help. Caymanians need help. People are hurting. People come here and live here. I talked to an individual from the UK some months ago, and I'm just going to put that there and just leave it there for someone else to call in. The individual, I said to them, you have reached and come to Cayman at a time when we finally seem to have a government that has come together from different parts of parties and independents and formed something that Caymanians, for the first time that I can remember since I voted,
Mm-hmm.
most Caymanians are somewhat happy with what is taking place right now. We cannot fix everything one time, so we are going to have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
But when you outnumber your own people where they have to live, problems start to happen. And Caymanians are disgruntled because they see neighborhoods changing like you have never imagined before. Just a little neighborhood down here on the stretch of Northwest Point Road. There's nothing but, I say it as how I see it, there's nothing but shrubbery, hedges, chain-link fences, cement walls, security metal gates, and as far as the eyes can see from corner to corner, security cameras. People are coming here to live, and these buildings that are being built, these apartment buildings are being built to house our foreign workers.
Mm-hmm.
Who can afford to live in them? This individual told me they were renting someplace on Birch Tree Hill, and I know because I looked at the rentals. Those places start at $2,800. If you can pay $2,800 for a one-bedroom without utilities, you are making money. And then I asked the question, why did you come to Cayman? And the question was answered simply like this. And this needs to sink into every Caymanian's head. I have come here to better my life. When Caymanians can't afford groceries in the supermarket, but yet every day I see a new foreign face in my neighborhood, this is a stretch of Northwest Point, and I can count. There is about 3 or 4 gated community condo complexes and apartment complexes, and there are no Caymanians living in them. They are hiding, the foreigners are hiding behind the wall, and I keep saying this. And Caymanians have to wake up and open their mouths. People might call me troublemaker, as they say, bearer of bad news, bringing gloom and doom. No, reality is, look around in West Bay alone, Miss Sabrina, and the amount of construction that has taken place here in the last year. Caymanians cannot afford homes, food, but yet the powers to be are signing away for permit holders to continue to hit these shores at the cost of Caymanians. And Caymanians need to hold these MPs, these politicians, accountable for what is still going on. This place has become a place where people come, they don't want to leave, they go about doing what they want, they have no respect for Cayman, Caymanians in general, or our way of life, but yet we are importing poverty into this country. And those that are even making the minimum wage or a little above it can live in this country because they're living 5, 6, and 10 to one house of 2 bedrooms.
But caller,
When Caymanians cannot afford to live. It's sad.
I want to ask you a general question.
Mm-hmm.
What then would be some of your recommendations or suggestions of other income streams for this country outside of work permits, that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
We're just going to leave it out because I hear what you're saying.
What we need to do. Go ahead.
We see our numbers of generational, indigenous, however you want to label us.
Declining every day.
Okay, fine.
Every day.
Let's add in all of those that we have, that have made, that have chosen, that has been granted it and added into our numbers, right? Let's do it. What other ways then, even with all of them on board, would you feel would be the best approach for our, let's say you have the attention of every elected leader right now. What would be some of the other ways you feel this country could actually be making other revenue streams without then imposing it on its nationals? Because at the end of the day, everybody is benefiting, but would you then dare to tread here that some of the expectations that government has to do everything is unrealistic as well?
It is. And what needs to take place is more government-private partnership. We have so many construction companies here, Ms. Sabrina, that they could go out and build less expensive homes. Caymanians don't need no $300 homes to live in. We just want something that is decent, hurricane-proof and ready. And government could go and start with the construction companies. If government even had to guarantee the loans that they're getting from the banks as a guarantee, let's go do it. Your people need places to stay. That could help solve part of the housing problem.
But remember, we still have the unfunded pension liability of $156.1 million. And this money is government owes current and future retirees.
Yes, and it is on the books, and we have to know. We have to know what it is. And it is a liability that's not going away.
Exactly.
Because government has to operate, civil servants have to earn salaries, and at the end of the day, they have worked hard and they deserve their money to live.
But look,
we are going to have to look at different ways, and one of the newer ways I'm hearing is AI. We need to get more into it. I'm sorry. Technology needs to be pushed in the schools. All of these companies that are operating here and making a profit should all have a program in place that every year they take under their care Caymanians coming out of school, or do it 2 years before. Go into the schools and start giving, what's the word I'm looking for? Go into the workplace and learn the ropes of the industries, the construction, the plumbing.
Internship opportunities.
Yes, you should. It should be written into the work permit law, the immigration law, that
But
every
these are Reg
permit.
6. When we talk about the Regulation 6 and they put the conditions, even on business staffing plans and all that sort of stuff, that is exactly what it's referring to. But also,
Yeah. So that is what should be done.
But then look at the overall cost that came out into the same document. Personnel costs right now, and they still haven't started or finished hiring for this year yet, for the first 3 months.
Yeah. It has
the $131 million for the first 3 months of running and operating the government.
Yes, ma'am. It is a figure that keeps going, and we have to look at different ways. AI is one of them. We could also look at becoming open up call centers for like the rest of the world has done.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a hurricane hits this place this year, and God forbid one does, we are bankrupt. Because government can't fund the Caymanians that need help in every aspect of their life now.
And they can't hire everyone. They can't hire everyone.
And what would happen then?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that these companies would stay here if we do not have the infrastructure for their telecommunications and so forth and internet? The people are not going to stay here. They would have to go to other jurisdictions.
Which is why the premier is aware right now, trying to solidify and tighten up, beef up the financial.
There,
exactly.
You go. And Asia is the place to go.
There we go.
But if that was to happen, most of these foreigners would pick up and go from here, and most of them probably would not come back.
I think we need, as the MPs, not speaking on behalf of any administration or any individual, just in generally speaking, with the acceptance that we are a minority in our own country, the fact that we are overrun and we're creating more jobs right now, or there are more job opportunities than we even have our own indigenous people
and
to fill them.
And our people are not trained to do them. That's why we should start 2 years before students graduate, even 3.
It still doesn't go with the pace of demand of service, because we're a service-based economy.
But at least, Ms. Sabrina, we would get more Caymanians having an idea of what they would like to do before they leave school, instead of coming out and wondering, what am I going to do?
I feel
they would have avenues.
I feel that from a national perspective, the conversation needs to be had more candidly. And it's a delicate balance with making sure that you are making laws, policies, and regulations that your people don't feel disenfranchised or left out.
Yes,
but then it's a harsh reality, like talking about the personnel cost and what it takes to run the government, the underfunded pension liability, and this whole thing of addressing that narrative, that belief that government must do everything because we do not pay income tax.
No. And I'm just going to end with this. For any one of us that relies on healthcare or whatever it is, because we cannot afford it, I leave this and I say this. We are all responsible for our own selves. And we must educate ourselves that if we have an illness or if we continue to do wrong things, as in not caring for ourselves and not doing what we're supposed to do to keep us healthy, in the end, we are going to become dependent on the only person we can go to, and that is the government.
Correct.
And people have to take responsibility for their own health, first of all. And doing so means taking care of you, whether you have high blood pressure, diabetes, HIV. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you cannot have to worry about going to a doctor, because some people that do it go to doctors every time they get a pain, we have to stop it. We have to take responsibility for our own health, and we have to learn to find ways to lessen our burden if we are dependent on something, because it's a burden on the country and we are all paying it. But universal health care is going to have to come here at some shape or form, because the only people making money off of health care is the insurance companies. and government needs to rein them in and rein them in big. I will leave it there, but
Thank you
tomorrow I
very
have
much.
lots more to talk about, Ms.
All
Sabrina.
right, there we go. It's
Have a
open mic.
wonderful evening.
Likewise, my dear.
And stay well. Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a close of this episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on this Thursday evening. And I know that a conversation for the past 2 days has gone far. You know, but what I want to rein in and to just make very clear, it's not about fair. Not at all. My aim here is to just bring an awareness. My aim is to highlight and bring about the fact that it's responsibility. And to also bring an awareness and highlight because it's about the future of our country, Cayman. And every citizen, as the caller alluded to, has a role. Every civil servant as well has a role. And yeah, every member of parliament has a role, including retirees, young adults, and even a business owner. All of us. But what we need to understand, most of all, which is why I took the time out, where the money comes from, where the money goes, what are the pressures that are coming, and what choices we must make. Because at the end of the day, we strong today as a jurisdiction, but strength today does not guarantee strength tomorrow if we don't start making some sound, sustainable decisions and having some very difficult conversations as well. Because at the end of the day, say what you want. The future will depend on informed citizens, responsible leadership, and honest conversations just like these. Dean will be the last comment. Cayman, our break will be able to break and no one broke, but will be able to break and no one to help them financially. Cayman will be broke. Caymanian are broke, will unable to break and no one will help them financially. I think there's a typo there. But thank you again for all of your comments. Thank you everyone for joining me. And I've just shared in the CMR WhatsApp, because some of you have a hard time finding me, the links for today, just so you can share it with your friends. But I want to encourage you all to stay informed, definitely stay empowered, and do not go silent. These are facts. And this is only the first 3 months. Where we go from here depends on every one of us. And what is at the core of everything that I've shared boils down personal responsibility coupled by accountability. Good night. God bless. Love you lots. Excited for tomorrow's open mic. Good night.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.